Hi, everyone. Can you hear us okay?
Hello, everybody. Hello, pioneers.
We're so
Yeah.
excited you're here.
Yes, I see so many people joining at once. We just enabled the waiting room. So guys, welcome. We're so excited to see you. I'm Alex. This is Ashley, your editing mentor for today. And you can just get into it right now.
Awesome. Well, while we are just warming up and waiting for everyone to show, I would just like to introduce myself a little bit. So I'm Ashley, and I've been a photographer for almost 10 years now, running my own business. I shot weddings for the past 7 years, but after meeting Alex and becoming his student, I just really wanted to transition, and I wanted to focus in running my studio and doing shoots that really ignite my fire and make me excited, and also into education. So we are so happy you're here and part of this first joint program that we're doing. So I'm really passionate about teaching photography and making things a little bit easier on students, because I did everything the hard way. When I first started in 2014, it was like there wasn't this big community, and there wasn't like a lot of education out there. What was out there was more like when you search Google and you're just super overwhelmed by what you see. So I like to teach things in a way that just makes sense. So that's a disclaimer also, that I'm not here to teach you like a ton of technical terminology or why these things work, if that makes sense. I want to show you the systems that I've found, the way that things work for me. So it's going to be just a very straightforward, down to the point kind of way of doing things. So I'm going to walk through, and I want to start with my workflow. So I always shoot on 2 cards at a session. Highly recommend that if you have a dual camera slot. And I will go ahead and share my screen with everyone. Okay, so you should be able to see this now. And what I do, like as soon as I get home from a session, I've got my 2 cards, and I open my hard drive. For our sake, we are gonna, you make your folder where you have your session name. Say this was your SD card, go ahead and move everything into it.
Just
And
for a second, I'm not sure if it's just on my part. Something froze on Zoom. So guys, let us know in the chat if you can see the screen that Ashley is sharing.
Let's
Okay, yeah,
see.
it froze. Ashley, so try canceling share screen and then open it again, because it froze once you've closed Lightroom.
Okay, gotcha. Let's see.
Yeah, Lightroom can be a cranky little chicken nugget. So
Thank you for letting me know.
no, of course, it's a big program, so don't worry. That's why it might have froze.
Okay, it's trying to select multiple screens. I just had Lightroom selected. So we may have to do a little back and forth here, but can you guys see this now?
Yes, now it's, can everybody see Ashley's screen? I'm looking at it in my end. Okay, amazing.
Okay,
Guys.
awesome. So what I did, I'll go back a little bit. I have my hard drive here with all my sessions on it. I make a session name, put my raw files in there, and then I like to take that folder once all the photos are moved, and I put them into this raws folder. I have a ton of photos in here, so it's taking a second to load. But I like to do this because now you've got things in 2 places. If you like to cull straight out of the album that you put on your computer, or hopefully you're not just editing straight off your SD card, because that's a really scary way to lose photos, then you've got the raw files in 2 places now. And if something gets deleted out of this album, you have it in another place. And I keep those for pretty much for life. Once I fill up a hard drive, I'm buying a new one and keeping those, because I just like to have them. So that's kind of the start of my workflow. You can also upload them to Dropbox, and I wanted to show you guys Can you guys still see my camera too? Good. Okay. So I use this little thing to keep my SD cards too. I've never, knock on wood, never lost any photos because I am a freak about making sure I have them in multiple places. So let's switch back to this. Can we see my Lightroom? Good. Okay. All right. So let's move on to the important stuff. I just like to share that because when I do mentor sessions, I hear a lot of people say, like, I just edit off my SD card, or I've lost photos multiple times. So this is a good way to not do that. So then you guys probably know this, but we're going to go to import. We're going to pick our folder that we want to pull photos from. And I just picked out some photos that are like a variety of lighting situations and locations for us to work on today. So quickly just going over how I cull. When I have these photos on my hard drive and my raw folder, all that good stuff, I like to just cull straight into Lightroom. It is such a time saver. So say this was a session where I didn't want to bring in all the photos. I'm going to go through, pick the ones I don't, or I want, and leave the ones I don't. And then everything's in Lightroom once you hit import. And I just like this because one, it bogs down your computer and your Lightroom program if you're moving every photo in from a session and then having to delete as you go. It's also just overwhelming. Like I want to pare it down to what I'm going to deliver and what I need. So that would be how you do this. And again, I'm sure you guys know this stuff already. So we're going to import. And then you've got all your files over here. So that is pretty much my workflow for the start of the session. Then you see exactly what you have to get done in Lightroom, you know where you're at. And now let's get into the fun stuff, the editing. So the develop tab is where all the magic happens. And let's talk about presets first, because this is a question I've gotten so much since I've really started my education part of my business. And like, what presets do you buy? Why don't the presets look like they do on the website that you're buying them from? This is a huge issue. So if you're still struggling with that part of your business, I recommend finding some presets that you like well enough, even if they're not hitting the mark, they're not the style you want to be at yet. Go ahead and use them. And every time you get a photo that you're like, this is it, this is what I want, you're going to come over here and create preset once you have applied all the settings you like to that photo and name it whatever. So like if it's an indoor shot and this preset just works great for indoor photos, name it that. So that is what I've done over the past 10 years. I probably spent like $2,000 on different preset packs, just trying them out, getting frustrated. But as I found ones I liked, I would make my own adjustments to it and then save that. And over time, I've gotten it pared down to these. And you'll see as we walk through these photos today, like there will be some that work great. Like this is my studio preset. This was taken in the studio and it's looking good right off the bat. But I want to be fully transparent and show you how I get to that process too. So let's see. Let's just dive into this one and I will go over settings as we go. So instead of using my beautiful studio preset on this, let's go with just my basic preset that I started with in the very beginning. So heavy on the grain, pretty warm and moody, a little bit more than I would want my style to be. And let me pause right here and say, whether you edit in the way I do or whether you want to edit that way, everything I show you today can be applied to any style. The importance of this is seeing how these tools work. And I'm going to edit them in my style, but please get in Lightroom after this and play around, move these things and see what works for you. So coming back to that, like I said, very first thing is I'm feeling like this is really heavy and orange, and that's not what I'm going for. So right here at the top, our temperature slider. This is usually what I go to first. They have it at the top for a reason. So I'm feeling a little bit more like this is what I want. And pretty much everything with Lightroom is just playing around, especially in the early stages. Once you get these presets saved and you know, like you're reaching that point of cohesion, this will be a breeze. But in the beginning, I can't tell you how many hours I spent just moving sliders around and finding what I like. So once I'm happy with the tone, I'm just going to work my way through the rest. You guys know about exposure and contrast. I personally like a really soft contrast, so we're going to bring that all the way down. And then right here, this is your highlights, shadows, whites, and blacks. So pretty obvious and straightforward. Everyone has a different preference. I like my whites kind of muted, so that's good there. And don't be afraid to jump back and forth. I do that a ton, and you'll see that as we start working our way through these photos. It's nice to go down the list, but if something's bugging you right off the bat, jump in and fix it. So I'm going to jump back to my exposure, and then I can start to see what works and what doesn't with these sliders. So I'm feeling pretty good with how it sits here. A lot in this section I leave alone, but texture is just going to give you that more gritty look. If you like higher contrast images and that true to life look, this section will be your best friend. If you like more creamy and moody images like I do, take dehaze down. And then again, we're just going to jump back and forth. Like as you move things, you might want to readjust things back in your highlights and shadows and whites and blacks. So I'm feeling okay. It's looking a little washed out to me. Again, just play around. And then we're going to come down to the tone curve. And this might look different than what you have on yours. And that's because I have it set to this one with the little waves. What is it called? Thought it would pop up for me, but it's this one all the way to the far left. I love this because you basically have 3 different ways that you're doing a fine-tune adjustment on those highlights, shadows, whites, and blacks. So once you've gotten it good here, you can really come in and make those adjustments that are going to set you apart and give you that style that you're trying to reach. So again, I like it muted. Let's bring that down. And feeling pretty good. So everything in this first half that we've gone over is pretty much about the tone of your photo. So once you've gotten that, you can start to play with color. And that is what I'm most excited about showing you, because it took me a long time to get past this first section that we've gone over. I was like, okay, photo's good, let's send it out. But there is so much more you can do to really get what you're going for. So this is another thing that may look different. This is a custom adjustment I've made to my Lightroom, because you can have just hue, just saturation, or just luminance. And I like it on all so that I can, again, bounce back and forth, play with those things, tweak them off of each other. So I love my reds, a little more true red. My preset likes to kick those all the way up to orange, but I like a little more red in there. This is your hue. So this is going to change, for lack of better phrasing, this is going to change the color of the color you're tweaking. So you can bring it all the way down here and see those oranges get, or sorry, those reds get really red and pink, or you can take it up and see them get really orange. So this is a section that will give you that exact style that you're working for. And a lot of people ask me, like, how do you get your oranges to have this tone? Or how do I keep this looking true to life, but still have that moody appearance? It's all about this section. So I'm pretty happy with where things are there, but as you can see, it's only going to change the colors that are actually in your photo. So every shot is going to look a little different. Our purple slider is not really doing anything other than maybe to her jeans, but you're going to want to look at the dominant colors in your photo and play with those sliders. So that's the hue section. Saturation is going to work the same way. To the left is going to decrease your saturation. Not seeing much yellow there, maybe some orange. Yeah, now we're getting this nice, like true to life, but still has that character to it. And then your luminance is basically how bright or dark that color is going to be. So again, we're seeing heavy with the orange in this photo. So let's play with this slider. For people who like to look tan, I love to bring their orange luminance down. So you'll see that's really playing on her skin tone. I'm happy with it there, about where this preset put it. So that's how those three things work. It's the color of the color, the saturation or intensity of the color, and the brightness of the color. And that is going to change the game if you are not already playing around in that section. It is what's going to give you full control over the look of your images, because presets that you buy are going to set all those things in one place, and that might be what's frustrating you. Someone in the class, I don't see her, but she was asking me, like, I want this warm brown tone to my photos, but I'm just struggling to get there. So if you're feeling like that and there's just one color that you're trying to achieve or a certain look and you're not hitting it, please just play around in this section, move every single slider, and you will get there. So moving on, kind of in the same way that the tone curve is a more minute adjustment on this section, or basic adjustments, your color grading is going to work similarly to your HSL section. So I love to play with balance in this section. You'll see that my shadows over here are warm and my highlights are cool. And that's how I get that kind of filmy look to my photos. So again, this, for your style, the world is literally open for you when you get into this section. If you're wanting to get that like warm, a lot of people call it brown, romantic look, you can pull this over to orange too. You can make it yellow, like you can do literally anything in this section. So to go over how this works, your little dot on the outside can swing around the wheel for any color, and you'll see like we're hitting so many different styles just by moving this one slider. So I'm going to bring it back to some warmth. And then when you pull from here, it's how saturated, how much of that color is getting added to your shadows, highlights, or midtones. So I don't usually feel like I need anything in the midtones. So I leave this blank, but again, you can create literally anything in this section. So let's pull this back where I personally like it. And we lost our saturation here, so I'm going to bring that back up. All right. Quick little detour here. If you ever do something and you're like, I'm not feeling it, I want to get back to where I was at, this history section on the left will go over every single change you've made to a photo. So you can also hit like Command Z or Control Z on Windows, but it's really easy to jump back and forth to your different changes over here. So I think, yeah, this is where we were. All right, so we've hit on how to change the tones in the photos and how to change the colors. Don't let these sections scare you. Get in there and play with this and you will hit your style quicker than you'd ever imagine. So other things I like to utilize in Lightroom once I've gotten the basic tone and color how I want it, the transform section. This photo doesn't necessarily need that, but you can kind of see that this wall looks crooked. So Lightroom will do some heavy lifting for you here. I always hit constrain crop first because it is going to keep everything within the plane. You're not going to get any white edges where it's distorting the photo. So very important to hit that. And then a lot of times Lightroom will do the work for you and you can hit auto. To me, that still looks a little off. It brought her a little straighter, but we're still seeing that that wall is crooked. So pretty self-explanatory. These sliders will will adjust the photo vertically, horizontally, rotate it, that kind of thing. To me, it's this horizontal line against the wall. So I'm just going to pull that. And you'll see here that white corner, if we didn't hit constrain crop, that would show. But when we let go, it's perfect. And then you can hit your before and after. She does not look distorted to me. Yeah. Right. So that's looking good. I might even pull her a little more vertically now. Love it. Okay. Effects. The only thing I want to do here, the base preset that I have is pretty heavy on the grain, like we talked about at first. So I want to pull that down a good bit. I like a little bit of grain, but that was a little crazy. Okay, so we've got pretty good image here. To me, it's looking a little pink. So again, bouncing around, going back to the beginning, getting things perfect. I'm just going to make a few more tweaks here till my eyes are happy. Okay. I think I went a little heavy-handed over here. And you'll get a feel for this as you go. Like you'll do the same set of things to every photo, and not every photo will need -10 orange saturation, but you will probably like your orange saturation pulled down. So that's part of finding your style. There's no preset in the world that is going to work on every single photo, but once you get around or get in Lightroom and play around and find what works for you, it will speed up your process so much. All right, so we're happy with the photo. Now let's play with.
Guys, so it's also so important to realize that like Lightroom as anything in business, it's going to be trial and error in the beginning. So don't be afraid to think you've messed it up, because there's literally no way to mess it up. Like the sliders, as Ashlee said, are your biggest friends, and sometimes they're going to annoy the heck out of you because you're like, oh my God, I cannot get this right. But the more you play with it, the better and easier it's going to feel. Like it's just like riding a bike. You will get to the point where it feels like automatic.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. I do want to pause right here for any questions focused specifically on anything we've gone over so far. I still have a lot to cover, but are there any questions about changing your tone or the color of your image?
Hey Ashley, it's Crystal.
Hey,
So I
Chris.
have a question.
Yes.
So maybe it's not going to relate too much about the color and stuff, but so for example, like when I use Lightroom, but I use the new version, the Lightroom version classic. I've tried to download it on my computer and I have it, but I have not been successful in being able to like actually like put an image up and actually play with it, because I can never find the stuff that you're actually showing me. So I know that the Lightroom, the one that I normally use, that one I have been able to use, and that's where I've been doing all my work on. But I've been trying to figure that out. I don't know if there's something you recommend.
Yeah, this is a great question, and actually something that I wanted to mention a little bit earlier too. I'm using Lightroom Classic because that's all there was in 2014 when I started. And to me, it's just more user friendly. You can see all this on the side, but I'm so sorry to hear that you're having that problem. So you're not seeing this tab over here on the right?
Correct. Because I see it, I don't see it exactly like that. The one where I see it is like the other Lightroom that they have.
Right.
They'll be like, I don't even know what version I have right now, but it updates time, you know? Maybe it's just almost the same thing. It's just like in a different category. Like some stuff are in a different category.
Yes, and there's nothing wrong with the other version of Lightroom. It's really just preference. So you should have all these same tools. They are going to be in a different location, but they're going to do all the same things. So you can download Lightroom Classic from Adobe, from your Creative Cloud if you want to try it out. And it might be as simple of an issue as over here where I have it collapsed. You may just have to pull it out. I'm not sure if that's what you're asking, but we can touch on that again at the end too. And we'll see what's going on. But if you have the other version of Lightroom, it does all these same things.
That works. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have a question before we move on to the more technical tools?
I have a question about the tone curve.
Yes.
So I know like I've used all the HSL and like all the colors back and forth, but I've never used that actual tab that says tone curve. And I see how you have it as like where it says adjust. Do you ever click on those colors or do you just mainly use the sliders?
So I just used the sliders on this one, on this little wavy thing. And thank you for bringing this up because I touched on how there are multiple ways you can use this. My favorite way is just to play with these sliders right here because it works like everything else in Lightroom does. So to me, it's habit to go in and do that. But you can choose, and your histogram is showing here like where you have your shadows and lights. So if you know that midtones are really heavy here, and you want them brighter, you can also click and drag there.
Okay.
And then you can also slide here. So there's a lot of ways you can do that. You can do that for the color. I have never used that because to me, I'm making all the color adjustments that I need in the HSL section. But if you play around with that and it works for you, that may become part of your process.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Anything else before we move on?
I have a question about all of the pipe students that might be here or going to be watching the replay. This is going to be more advanced, but I haven't been in Lightroom for years. I usually either my assistant edits my images on Visco when I post on Instagram. When I used to do photography, I did use Lightroom, but back in the days there was no AI to speed edit an entire gallery. So is there now like an option that you could use to speed edit like entire gallery using AI? Is that an option?
To some degree. So this is a great point, Alex. And we're not done with this photo, but this is a great time to show you guys something. You may already know this. And if you already know it, I have no doubt that you will never forget the moment you found out. And if you don't know this, it's going to completely change your life. So
yeah,
let's
in
say,
busy season, that would be so handy when you have like 20 weddings back to back. You need, if you don't have an editor, you need something to edit fast. So
yes. So there are different things you can do, like applying a preset on import and that kind of thing. But and Alex knows this about me well, I have a trouble with relinquishing control. I want to touch every photo. I want to pour 110% into it. So if you're a control freak like me and you still want your whole album in here, so let's say we've got this photo perfect. It's not done, but if we did, we could go to the next photo of the set. And right down here, if you hit previous, it's going to paste your whole, edit all your settings. You're not having to start from scratch with your preset again. And when I first discovered that, it was probably like 5 years in, I was just like, how many weeks of my life could I have saved if I had used this? So yes, previous to me is the best way to speed that process up. Then most of the time you're already done and moving on to the next photo. All right, so let's come back to this because like I said, it's not done in my opinion. We still have a lot to work on. So let's see. Let's just start right here with the crop. This is another thing that's really important to have if your clients are going to be printing images. just like we did on the transform adjustment, you want to make sure you're constraining to image. And this, you want to do that. And you also want to hit this lock over here to keep it to its original shape. Because if it's unlocked and you might like this really skinny look, you might need that for Instagram or something. But if you do this and they go to print it out, it's not going to work. So I'm going to reset that, constrain to image, my lock is back on, and then move this. So if your clients are having trouble with printing and you don't have that lock on, that will be a big help. And then next, this is what I showed the little sneak peek of on my story. We're going to do this to several images in here. But so if you've used your clone and your heel, and they just added this erase button. I don't even know what it's called. I think it's erase. I don't use that. I've tried it, and to me, clone and heel just works better. So this is your heel button. If you have something isolated, like this little clip on the wall here, it's simple. It's one click. Lightroom's going to choose where it's pulling from, and it does a decent job most of the time. So love that. Super easy. But let's say that we're really extra and this hair right here is bothering us. What you want to do is switch to clone, which is this little stamp looking one. Anytime you're doing something that's up against another object, you want to use clone because it's going to create a nice hard line. So it's going to work great on this white wall, but we'll look again in another photo. So I'm just going to paint. Make sure that whole area is covered. And let's say that line looks like way too harsh to you. Then you can come over here in these settings and you can feather it a little more. You can change the opacity if it's something you did want to still show. We don't want that in this case. So let's see how that looks. Still looks a little chopped off to me. So we can go in as closer, as far out as we want to, staying on that clone tool just to kind of clean up the edges. And I'm even going to take her finger off there because I think it's just going to look better. Okay, let's check that out. Yeah, that looks much better to me. So clone and heel, we will hit that again. I have some photos in this album that are a little bit better for that. So that's pretty much how that works. Make sure you're switching back between the two. Heel is going to blend the edges. This is great for acne, blemishes. She doesn't really have any of that going on, but like here, this little spot, heel will do a better job than clone will in that case. So if you want something blended, use heel, the middle one. If you want like a sharp edge, you're going to use clone. All right, now this is what I've been so excited about. We are going to get into masking. And Alex, this kind of goes back to, this isn't going to speed up your workflow, but this AI is going to give you so much control and you will never be frustrated with an image again. So there's a lot we can do here. Again, I'm just going to go over this part briefly, and then you'll see the different ways we can use it in the next few photos. So my personal favorite, we're just going to dive right in, is in range. So I think that the shadows here are still just kind of bothering me a little bit. They look a little orange and saturated. And if I've gotten the tone of the rest of the photo where I want it in those basic adjustments, we can come in with color range. So you're going to select that. This is a color dropper. So I'm going to find the part that bothers me most is like right here on her cheek and her neck. So this tone, I'm going to select that. And like we saw when we were playing with those sliders, this is a really orange heavy photo. And I don't want all the orange to be wiped out. I just want those deepest shadows. So I'm going to refine it up here. Keep sliding it down. Now you see it's just hitting the shadows that were kind of getting on my nerves. So I, again, love the dehaze slider, bringing it down to the negative side. Just needed a little pop there. And then your hue. So this is basically all the same things you have in the basic adjustment section, but it's doing it to whatever you've painted, whatever slider you've put on with your linear gradient, which we'll go over in a second. But I like to change my hue just in there. I'm going to bring it more to the red side, and I'll go all the way so you can really tell what we're changing. But I'm going to bring it back. And I'm happy with it there. Maybe even a little saturation out of that. And then you can always hover over this to see the section that it's painting again. So love that. I do have her looking a little washed out, but I like the shadows better. So again, bouncing back and forth. I'm going to come here, give her some life again. Love it. And that's, for me, this is what works. Like, I'm not done with a photo until I've done all these sets of things and gone back through it a few times. And like Alex and I have both said, just don't be afraid to get your hands dirty in this section and really have fun with it. So that's one thing we can do, and that is called the color range. It's my personal favorite. And if you do have a little bit heavier of an editing style, but there's something that always bugs you, maybe in the shadows, maybe in the highlights, definitely give this a try, and you can tweak just those problem areas. So another thing we can do in this section, we can select the subject, select the background, or select people. So let's just see what it does. Select subject. In this case, it did mostly select her, but sometimes it'll try to bring in those other objects that are in the plane. So I'm going to delete that and hit select people. You'll see when we have multiple images or multiple people in the image, it will give you that option too. And then you're choosing literally down to the eyebrows. Like, how cool is this? You can choose whatever you want to adjust. So I don't know about you guys, but I think we need to look at a different image. We have really poured a lot into this one. So let's try something in a different lighting scenario. This is one of my favorites, and I did make a lot of changes to it along the way. So for the sake of time, I'm not going to make you watch me edit that whole thing again, but let's just go through my presets over here. Again, this is all using the same base preset. It's just different lighting situations that I've made those tweaks, and it speeds up my life now to know that if it's fall, this one's going to look good. If I'm indoors and I need it to be cool, this one's going to look good. So since we're outside, man, I just love warm and moody. It's a go-to for me. So we're going to close that. We'll make a few minor adjustments, like bring some life back into them, bring some shadows down. They're looking a little orange. So again, I'm going to bring that pink and red back in. So as you get comfortable with your style, your brain will literally just propel you through this part of the editing. So that will get easier as you play around and know what you like. So here, we're going back to our masking section. This is a great photo to show you the sky select. Love that. And here you can see it didn't do a super clean job of it, like some of her hair's in there. And if I pull highlights down, if I'm trying to get that sky to look better, it doesn't look terrible, but I just want it to be a little bit more clean. So you can come to the subtract right here, and we want to subtract the person from it. It's going to choose her entire person because it just had that weird outline on her arm. Create mask. And then when you hover over it, you'll see it cleanly cut all that out. So the masks have so many capabilities. You can brush things out by hand. You can add them in. You can do the select people, and we'll see that as we go. But to me, that's just a nice way to get the sky clear cut. And I think I want to make the sky a little bit more blue too. That's a little much. Okay. And then another thing we could do to this is my favorite color range. Again, looking a little heavy on those oranges. Select that. And let's say I love the orange in the background, like it's working in that grass for me. I just want them to be a little less. We'll come to subtract, select background, so it removes that. And then we're just working with their skin tones. So that's where I'm talking about, like, so many capabilities. We'd be here all night if I showed you every combination, but play around with the add and subtract within any brush or masking tool that you create. So we've got this here. Okay, we'll have to make some change, or here, color range. I'm going to refine it again, just to those deepest shadows. And then you guys should know at this point, I love dehaze to make it a little more creamy and a little more warm. But let's say you really like heavy shadows and heavy contrast, you can play around with any slider on here and achieve your look. So that's looking pretty good. Let's see what else we can do. Okay. This one's pretty straightforward. Let's go. This is the photo that I edited on my story yesterday, and this is a great way to show you the clone and heal more in action, more in the places when you need it and struggle with it. All right, I'm liking sunset for Lindsay, and I'm just going to walk through this one really quick, like start to finish of how I would do it. This will be great as you're looking back. So the first thing that's throwing me off is that it's crooked, so I'm going to fix that. Crop it in. And then play around in that top section, jumping back and forth, getting a feel for what this photo needs. Can add our masks. And every person is different for me. Like, I can't get over, so this is luminance range. It's going to do the same thing as the color range, but with the luminance, how bright or dark those colors are. So that's going to bring it to my midtones. Okay. Yeah, that actually did what I wanted. So color range and luminance range are going to play off of each other, just like they do in this section. Your luminance and your saturation are going to do very similar things, but we are here to clone and heal. So let's do, most people, when they first play around with this tool, like want to paint the whole object. And then, you know, people who don't know what's going on, that might not bother them, but as photographers, it's going to bother us. So I like to paint in sections of what is already there. So we have this bush behind the person that is there, and then the tree. So first I'm just going to paint the part that's over the tree. It's going to choose some wild area. It's not great about this. I'm going to drag it back to whatever looks closest to it and just move it around till you find the sweet spot. Looks like I missed a little section. Let's fix that. All right. And then I'm going to go in with the line of that bush. Can even make it a little crazy to match. Okay. And then we're going to pull from something that is similar to it. Let's try there. And you can add as many of these as you want. I end up with like 30 in one area sometimes, just getting it to look blended. So just keep going over it, but that's the part of the process that will make a big difference. Don't try to do one big sweep over something that needs to be removed. Go in with the object behind it and try to match that. And to me, that like this is not good enough. We can see that blur. So I'm gonna go over, make a harder line. And I'm gonna switch. We've been on heel this whole time, and remember that kind of pulls that blur. It's trying to blend things. So let's see how clone does for us. That looks better. And then if I still see a hard line, I'm going to switch back to heel and paint the edge of that. And you'll see that in just a second when we do these behind her shoulder. But that looks so much better to me than the blur that we had. That looks more intentional. So right here over her shoulder, if we leave it on heel, it's going to pull her hair out, and that's not what we want. We're going to switch to clone, make a nice hard line, and find the area that best matches. And I'm just clicking and dragging this once it's made its selection. So again, here you'll see, not working for me, too hard of a line. So once I've done my clone, I have the object or that area covered. I like to paint the edge of that shape and switch back to heel. So it's bleeding that area out. It's blending it like we do like. So I hope that makes sense. That's kind of how a lot of people have so much frustration with the clone and heel, but basically if it's up against a hard object, use clone, blend out the edge of the clone with heel. If it's something on the skin, you can pretty much stick with heel. So love that. That gives us a much better looking photo without distractions. And I zoom in and out a lot to see what I'm doing, because when you're editing on a huge screen, it's easy to get bogged down and overwhelmed by all the things you see. But a lot of people are looking at this on their phone. Like, save yourself some time, but make sure you're delivering quality work too. Okay, let's see. So moving on, well, let's pause right here. Are there any questions about clone, heel, or any of the masking? Everybody good? Awesome, love to hear it. Okay, one of the biggest, like best compliments that I've gotten from clients is that my editing style balances skin tones really well. Like working with interracial couples, I have some of the sweetest people who have told me like, we will always come to you because you balance us out so well. So that is just taking the time and playing with those masking tools. It also definitely matters how you're shooting. Like they already look nice and balanced here, but sometimes when you put a preset on people who have very different skin tones, it can be really frustrating and you're just spending hours trying to edit. So no, I don't like this one. Let's go with this. Okay. So for me, like I have to get a photo straight and how I want it before I can even look at the color or tone. Let's adjust that first. And studio is what I want. Okay. Just trying to get this to where we can look at it. And you'll see just this is kind of my workflow, like bouncing around, moving those things, trying to find like a general balance before you spend a ton of time going in and making brushes or using masking. So I'm pretty happy with it there. But again, we've got this deep orange with my edit that I want to tweak. So this is a great place to show you that it's going to select two different people. So again, her orange shadows are just looking a little heavier. Her shirt is reflecting orange like underneath her neck. So I'm going to select, well, I want her shirt to stay orange. So I'm going to select her face skin and her body skin. And you'll see it's not always perfect where it's got a little bit of her hip and her hand. So let's create the mask. If we really want that out, we can use a subtract brush. Over here, your flow and density is how heavy it's going to be. Like this will erase completely. If I put it down around 50, it's just going to do a softer version of it. So you have a lot of control when it comes to that. I do want this completely out though. Okay. And then you'll notice like he's got that orange reflection from her shirt too on his neck. So we could go in and add a brush just of that little section. And then dehaze is probably going to do the trick for us, and a little bit more red as opposed to orange. All right. Still not perfect to me. So I'm going to go in with color range and select that color. And you'll see it's Lightroom just added this tool like less than a year ago, and it takes out so much frustration because as amazing as those basic sliders are, it can be a little overwhelming to try and achieve the exact look you want without this flexibility. So thank you, Lightroom. All right, I'm feeling happy with that. They look less reflective of that orange, bringing my orange luminance down. As I took the dehaze up on that, it felt a little glowy, and we don't want that. So until you're happy with a photo, don't hesitate to go back and forth. The last thing that bothers me here is that this eye is a little bit darker on him. So you can also just use a brush right off the bat.
Oh my gosh, Ashley, I have you're spending like hours on a single picture. You're something else, I swear. Guys,
Yes,
by the way, for your own sanity, you don't have to do this.
that's true. This is me just trying to show you like all the different ways you can use these brushes. You don't have to do this to every photo, but if you're feeling stuck and you're trying to reach your style, then these tools are the way that you do it. No, you don't have to paint someone's eye every time, but if things like that bother you,
no, but
yes,
it was like so helpful because sometimes like if it's like a wedding for a photo album, like guys, you want to select the pictures that for example, clients ask for a print or a wedding album, then you definitely want to do what Ashley just showed you, because you don't like have to do it for every single picture, because it's you can, but it's going to take you like so much time. But this is like with the eye, it's genius.
yes. So yeah, I don't want this to be overwhelming to anyone at all. I'm just trying to think of any possible way to show you the application of these tools. But if you're for huge prints, like Alex said, if this is a wedding and you know this is when they're blowing up to 36 by 48 on the wall, like make these changes. But I'm definitely guilty of getting bogged down in this stuff sometimes too, because there are so many tools. So that yeah, that's how you use a brush. You can go over here and see what all you've done. Let's also show linear gradient while we're here. Let's say I wanted the floor to be purple. We can do that. So we're going to select the floor, and it's selecting their legs too. So I'm going to remove both people, entire person, and select them. All right. Selecting that. It did remove the spot between his legs, but for the sake of that, we're not going to worry about it. And then boom, purple floor. So that you can make anything happen using these tools. Linear gradient's great for the sky. If you need to brighten up in a church or somewhere like that, if you're shooting wedding photos, love that tool for that sake. All right, I think Radial gradient's going to do the same thing that linear gradient just did, but in a circle version. I don't think I've ever used that tool, but props to you if you can find a good use for it. And yeah, the rest of these you can use in combination with each other. Like if you, like we just did, select the floor, remove the people, or vice versa. You can do anything with your masks. Okay, so I would love to open up for any questions you have. I zoomed through this. We didn't edit quite as many photos as I thought we would, but I feel like we really covered each tool. But if you have any confusion, any questions, now is your time to ask.
So Lina just popped a question in the chat. I'm not sure if you can see it, Ashley. So she says, I use Lightroom Classic and I haven't seen the people selection. Is this on the updated by any chance?
I actually think I need to update my Lightroom too. I'd say it's been there for a couple of months, but what may be happening is, so you, Elena, you don't have this select people option at all.
I would have to go back and look, but I really don't think I've ever seen that. I usually just have subject, sky. Actually, I think I just have subject and sky. I don't think I've seen background or people.
Yes, it is fairly new. I'd say within the past 2 months, they just added that update to it.
Okay.
So definitely update if you haven't. That is such a huge time saver.
Yes.
So yes, let me know, like feel free to text me if you can't find that. But
Okay.
it should be on the update. All
Thank
right.
you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
So I actually edit on my iPad that I just got. How do I, this is probably a dumb question, but how, I have a Mac computer. How would I download Lightroom Classic on my computer?
On your computer or your iPad?
My computer.
Okay, so on your computer, hopefully you can see this. You can see the little window that just popped up.
Yeah.
Okay, so you will go to your Adobe Creative Cloud. It should be there. And you will search for Lightroom Classic. You can search for it up here and download that one. And it's not a must. To me, it just works. It's what I've always used and I love it. But all the same tools, like I edit on my iPad sometimes too, and all these tools are also there.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
don't hold any questions, guys. There's no dumb question, by the way. I don't want to hear that from anyone because you're all certified geniuses, guys. So no question is dumb question. Okay. This is a safe space for all of you to ask anything. Like this is why you invested in. So don't be afraid to ask anything because you're not going to be judged. No question is a dumb question. So don't hold back.
For sure.
One thing that I would ask in the name of my students, because this is something that I know a lot of people want to know, is what would be, because actually you're like 10 years into this and you've built such a brand, people love you. So what would you say that has been like the biggest game changer when it comes to figuring out your style? So let's say, you know, someone is like completely new to photography, or they've been doing it for years, and now they suddenly want to change their style. Like, what would you say are like the top ingredients for figuring out your own style? If it's like a, let's say style is like a recipe for your cake, what would the ingredients be for figuring out a style?
Great question. I feel like I have, what's the saying, like beat a dead horse at this point, but please, like, get in there and play around. If you think it's stupid to take your purple slider all the way this way, like you may love those purple tones in the blue, that may be what you're trying to go for. Like just get in there and try. And the other part of this, I would say, is shooting. If you're still struggling to shoot, you're going to be even more frustrated in Lightroom. So you can see, like, even though all these photos are different lightings, different times of year, that kind of thing, like there is some cohesion, ignore the purple floor, but finding a shooting style that works for you, that whether it's the middle of the day or golden hour, that staying consistent, then your editing game is going to fall into place too. So solid shooting style, playing with your white balance in camera too is really crucial. You can set it to Kelvin, and you're always choosing how your white balance lands, and then you're getting consistency there, because if you have your camera set on auto white balance, it's going to choose for you, and you can edit one photo and do the previous button like we talked about, and it's just going to be a mess because your white balance was off.
Yeah.
So
Like, your style literally starts in camera, and then Lightroom, it just gives you like all of the tools to enhance that.
absolutely. So yeah, consistent shooting style and not being afraid to mess with any slider to make your vision happen.
Yeah, guys, I think like I've mentored and Ashlee has mentored a lot of photographers too, but I've been mentored so many photographers in business, and I've seen, because I've been a photographer myself 6 years ago. And I think one thing that we struggle a lot as creatives is fear of failure and perfectionism. So don't let that hold you back. Like when you were growing up as kids, we were falling 17 times per hour. Like we don't remember this, but statistically it's been shown that you fall 17 hours per hour when you're learning how to walk. And now suddenly you've grown up and like you fail like one image and you're like, oh, like I would have quit my business. And you cannot lose that spirit of not wanting to give up. So don't be afraid to mess up. Yes, like I'm loving that this is landing with you, Alina, because don't be afraid to fail. Like if you cannot fail. You can only fail if you give up. So if you fail forward, because it's the only way to learn and to improve.
Yes, and there are people who are going to love your work and value you at any stage. I think as photographers, we often struggle with like my style is not where I want it to be. And that's kind of the point of this class, like giving you the confidence to know how to use every tool in here to get where you want to be. But like Alex said earlier, don't let this bog you down either. This is how to use it, but you don't have to do every single one of these steps every time either.
But everything that you've shared was like so spot on. And I know you go way deeper in this in your mentor sessions, but I think you've shared like such a big variety and tools and tactics that all of you guys can use, both in POPPI if you're watching the replay, or all of you guys in the live, because each of these tools, as Ashlee said, you don't have to use them at every single image, but they're going to be needed in different scenarios.
Yes. So I know I went over a lot of that quickly, and there was a lot of words. So if you guys have any questions about these tools or how to achieve something, if I skipped over anything, now is your time to ask. Please don't hesitate.
I have a question. It's not really related to editing. I guess it could be, but
Okay.
so do you send out a client style guide?
I do not currently. That's something like I've always kind of talked about doing and wanting to do. And I'm still so torn about it. That's why I'm struggling to answer this question.
That's
I
okay.
always tell people to do whatever is comfortable for them. Like I think you're probably asking too, because this couple in this photo, like goals on the outfit.
Yeah.
But that is their style, and I don't want anyone to feel limited by that. Like it's great for our portfolios when we have a client who dresses in such a beautiful way, but I don't do that just because I don't want anyone to feel limited by it. But there's nothing wrong with doing that either.
Okay.
Like I think this is more when it comes to depending on how you're I think it was Leilani that asked the question, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so this might be more of like when you're in the process of working with the client and you're actually in the relationship. So you sold them, they paid the invoice, and now you have like a maybe checkup consultation call to set the things of how the event is going to go. And then maybe in like 15 minutes, you send them like some inspiration vision boards that are going to like plant the seed of what you can go for the event. So it doesn't have to be like a necessary PDF document in Canva of like, this is what you should wear on your session, but you can more so send them like an inspo Pinterest board of like things that you have done with other clients, so that it's their images are as beautiful as possible, because you don't want people to show up on the shoot in like weird patterns that look bad
Yes.
in Lightroom. So this is something that I've seen my clients do, and it's something that's successful. So to all of you guys, you can have like a Pinterest inspiration board ready to send to your clients as to like what are the best outfits or details that they can wear. Because one thing that you want to remember is, yes, you're doing the pictures for your clients, but you're also doing the pictures for your business. And the majority of like, you can have the best marketing captions, like sales strategy on the call or on stories, but if the pictures are off brand or do not look like the clients you want to attract, then you're still going to attract different people. So you want to have in mind of like how people are put together in the sessions, because that's what people see, and that what attracts the same type of people. So having like that Pinterest board with like the inspiration might be helpful to nudge clients towards like, this is what you can wear, but also have in mind of like what you want your brand to be perceived as.
Elena, that's what I do. I'll set up a Pinterest board and I'll send it to my clients depending on what kind of session. And I don't know how many people I've had tell me that reduces all kinds of stress on them, and they just come prepared and know what to expect. And especially if you're adding like poses and stuff, when you get awkward people, it helps out a ton.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you guys.
That's awesome. Love that. So I think that's great. And like Alex said, then you are marketing more to the types of clients that you're looking for that fit your brand. That's an awesome point. Love that.
Yeah, like, because you have to think about like, how is this representing my brand? Because it is about you delivering the work, guys, to your clients, but it's also like this image, it's also what's going to help you attract clients in the future. So for example, if you're offering sessions with more outfits, you could nudge your clients to like, from all of this 4 outfit changes, one can be something that's representable to my brand. And this would be like a conversation that might be uncomfortable to bring up, but if you have a great relationship with your client, they will have no problem to like do that. So always have that in mind, because the worst thing that if you say ask a question like that is they say no. The best thing is like they say yes. So never be afraid to ask that, because it might just be the picture that books you a lot of clients.
Elena, I also had something to say. I started investing in more of a client closet, and I felt like that really helped. Just getting, even if you just start with getting some super cute long boho dresses, if that's the kind of vibe you want to go with, off of Amazon, just get a cute couple palettes of color palettes of a few dresses you like in a variety of sizes. Clients love that. And just starting with more of dresses for moms, if you're more of a family or motherhood photographer, they'll be like, oh my gosh, like that helped me, just going off of that one dress that they absolutely love. And then maybe farther down the line, you can invest in more of, 5T toddler clothes, some little kid clothes. And that automatically, like, you're already buying clothes that fit the vibe and the aesthetic that you want for your brand. So I just want to throw that in there, because I think it helps moms more than you think, because just them not having to go and look for a dress, that's like a huge lift off their shoulders, and they're like, wow. And then they can create outfits for the rest of their families around that.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I do have like a few that I've bought, but I have a shopping problem, so I try to keep all of them, and I really need to stop doing that.
And honestly, like if your clients are already wearing them for your own session, I've worn a couple for dinners and stuff. Like no one's going to know. Like I wash them between clients anyway. They're not going to know if you wore that dress to a baby shower or not. Like really, if you're sharing between clients, there's no reason why you can't wear that cute dress once either.
That's true.
One thing about that guy, I think Ashley does this when you opened your studio, you had like a client rental closet. Make sure though, guys, that it's within your contract and that you're charging for the dresses, and like the entire closet. So you want to have like a pricing tier. That's something that I personally do, and something I advise my clients, because it's something that you've paid for. So you want to look at it as an investment in your business, and also make sure you have it in your contracts, because let's say that gets damaged, it's something you've paid for. So in the legal and the business side of things, if you have contracts, you definitely need to have contracts in place. If you don't, get one ASAP, but definitely if you're having a plant closet, make sure that within the clauses, if like it gets damaged, if it gets stained, clients need to take care of it or pay for it. Okay? Because things can happen.
And not only clothes for women, like I feel like women have an easier time than men, because I don't know if y'all's husbands or boyfriends have an issue with dressing, but for my maternity pictures, my husband wore Crocs. So like have a variety of like button-ups or something for men to wear. I feel like that would help out the women just as much, because men are a struggle, y'all. Let's be honest.
They are. And another, I feel like a good tip is, if you don't have a client closet for their husbands or men in general, Amazon links or links to other boutiques and stuff, just things that would fit the already dresses you have, the vibe. And that I feel like helps any way, having an Amazon, what is that, storefront? Yeah, I think that's what it's called. I think clients really like that too, because honestly, let's be honest, most clients go to Amazon first because they want something that can be at their house in 5 days because they didn't plan it out.
Yeah, and you can even collaborate with all of these vendors that are local, and you can support each other with like the businesses, because if people are going to that boutique to get goods for them to for you to shoot their wedding, that tells you that other people like them are in their Instagram audience. So it might be smart for you to do a collaborative post, and you can get potential business from there. And like more about business marketing, you're going to be talking about tomorrow. But one thing to think about, guys, like when you're collaborating with vendors, like outfits, dress stores, wedding gown stores, if you're like a wedding photographer, you can get a lot of leads and business from these boutiques because they're likely going to have the same audience as you. Yeah, Lindsay, yeah, I'm glad that you love this. And the easiest way to get clients, if you want to spend manually time on Instagram, is you go, and I know Ashlee used to love this hack a lot, but if you go to the boutiques in your area and you literally in Instagram search bar, type in wedding store, bridal boutique, Washington, or like the name of your state, what's going to show up in your search bar is all of the boutiques in the area for wedding bridal gowns that have in their SEO component in Instagram within that keyword. And so in this account, you can find a lot of clients, potential clients, engaging with the posts of this account. And this tells you that if someone is looking for a bridal gown, they're most likely looking for a wedding photographer. So if you see the likes and the followers of that account, you could either, I don't personally recommend this because I'm more of the guy that wants to have clients come to you. But if you want to do manual work and get leads quick, you can do this hack. So go into the followers or the likes in the account, and you can engage with these people that have liked the post, because if they've liked the post, they're most likely in a look for a wedding photographer as well, and they will see your account and are going to probably inquire.
And you guys, this works. This is when I first started with Alex. This is one of the first things I learned. And this is how I've gotten a lot of my travel inquiries too.
Yeah, it's manual. I want you to be able to like go to the cinema, post a post that took you 15 minutes to write, and then you come back to like 10 leads in your DMs. But in the beginning, you will need to do some manual work, and this is like a great way to go about it. So you want to think about your niche. So if you're doing weddings, like bridal gown stores, cake shops, rentals, wedding venues, like think of all of the things and places where your client spends time, and you can literally find the people within the likes of the images, the comment sections, the followers, and engage with these accounts. And it works like charm.
It does.
So guys, any last minute questions for Ashlee? Don't hold back. While you're thinking of them, I'm going to pop your homework in the chat. And I want all of you to take action on this. So the second one is a form that I will have you fill in, so that the training is covering all of the spots that you think you need support in when it comes to business and marketing. So even pipe students that are watching this, like Ashley, I think I saw Mila in the chat. I think Scott joined as well. I want you guys to fill out this, and if you have questions that you want me to answer, and definitely fill out the form. So this is for everybody. Okay. Awesome.
That sounds good. Does anyone else have any other questions about editing? Tomorrow's going to be all about business and marketing with Alex, and you guys got a little taste of that tonight. I hope you're excited.
I'm super excited.
Awesome.
Same.
Nice, guys. Like, you're such troopers. Like, I think we've all, yeah, I think 8 people joined total, and you've all stayed till the end. So you are real champions. And like, one thing that I see in like a business owner is their ability to learn and discover new things. And this just shows me that you're committed to growth. So you should honor yourself for that and really celebrate yourself, because not a lot of business owners are accountable and do this. So congratulations to all of you.
Yes, it's been an amazing night. Thank you all for being here. And we're super excited for tomorrow. Alex, did you have anything else you wanted to share about tomorrow? We got the homework.
Not really. Just make sure that you save the link, because once I close once I end the call, you're going to lose the message. So does every one of you, let me know in the chat, guys, has opened the form on another window? Because if I close this, you're going to lose it. So everybody open it on the side, so that you have access to it. Let me know. Just write yes in the chat, everybody. Okay. Okay. Okay, guys. Amazing. Perfect. So I guess you don't have any other questions for Ashley. And if that's that, I'm going to end the meeting. Ashley, do you have anything else to say to this amazing boss women that are ready to take the industry by storm?
Yes, just to summarize, find presets that work for you. When you find something that works, save it over here in this left section in your own presets. Really get comfortable with using your camera, and don't be afraid to play around with every setting that Lightroom offers. I know it's overwhelming, but I hope seeing it all and being able to look back at this and see those processes, I hope that changes the game for you and that you really get comfortable in your style. And thank you so much for listening to all this tonight.
Oh my God, this was so good. Like, this is so much better than Netflix. I'll be honest with you. And when it comes to Netflix and watching things, if you want to watch this, maybe by the end of tonight, I will get you guys a replay. If not, you're going to receive it tomorrow with the second day of Pioneer, which is going to be all about business. So tomorrow, same time, it's going to be a bit longer because I have plenty of things that I want to cover, from packages to like all of the things. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. So if you have no other questions, then I will end the call and I will see all of you tomorrow.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Crystal.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Have a good night as well. It was awesome having you, and we're both going to see you tomorrow again. Bye, guys.
Bye.